So the trade rumors for Max Domi being traded in the last probably couple months, probably even since the deadline, honestly, have been constantly growing and changing. Teams like New York Islanders, teams like the Vancouver Canucks, teams like the Toronto Maple Leafs even have all been tied in trade rumors to going after the Arizona Coyotes forward this offseason at either the draft or sometime during free agency or any other time this offseason, looking to add him in a trade. But of today, I just got some really interesting news that popped up on my phone while I was at class today, is that the Pittsburgh Penguins are looking to acquire Max Domi. Now, the reason I'm choosing to make this video now and not later or not earlier is because the fact that the Pittsburgh Penguins are willing to go out and add a guy like Max Domi is really interesting to me. The Pittsburgh Penguins have a really interesting core as it stands right now, and there have been a lot of news coming out of Pittsburgh recently, which I'm planning to make a video on, about Phil Kessel and other players that I'm starting to wonder if they're considering trading players that they already have established for other players that are kind of borderline established, like Max Domi, younger guys coming into their prime, so they can try to maybe possibly fix locker room issues. Now, the reason that this is surprising me so much is because they already made a massive deal to get Derek Brassard. Now, it wasn't a massive deal, but that was a pretty big move for Pittsburgh to do at the deadline to acquire a guy for the playoffs. And now they're looking to add Max Domi. Now, Max Domi is a very interesting player. He did not have the greatest season last year, but you can't blame the kid. He played on the Arizona Coyotes, probably one of the worst teams in the league last year, if not the worst. You can make an argument for the worst. And for the talent they have on this team, they shouldn't be this bad, but they were. And I think the Arizona GM, he would be, I don't remember exactly his name, but I do know he's the youngest GM, and he doesn't have a lot of experience. Now, a lot of people have been questioning his decision making, whether people are saying that maybe he's working for the owners. And what I mean by working for the owners is that trying to turn a profit in some way. Examples: taking on the Datsuk contract, taking on all these other contracts, massive contracts he's taking on that aren't making the team better per se, but acquiring picks and prospects to make the future better. But year by year, the same thing, a rinse and repeat cycle with the Arizona Coyotes. They are not good, and in fact, they're pretty terrible. The reason Max Domi is an interesting case on this team is that he has always been a bright side up until last season on this team. And it makes me wonder if the fact that they have a guy like Clayton Keller coming up, if they're willing to sacrifice Max Domi for another example of more picks and prospects to maybe make the future better. In my personal opinion, as much as Gary Bettman does not like expansion, the Arizona Coyotes are not going to last much longer. I'm giving it 5 years before they get moved, if that. The NHL isn't stupid. They're not going to keep feeding money into the team this bad in a place where no one wants to watch it with this much arena trouble. It's not a healthy franchise. It's not in a place where they could be. A team like this is where I would like to see Seattle get a team. I'd like Seattle to get a relocation more than expansion due to what happened with Vegas this season. I just don't think expansion is a good idea in the league. I think it's fun and all, but when you look at the talent level in the league, expansion is not a good idea because you're basically just stacking a team to do a deep cup run. Now you can make an argument that Vegas is an exception, but when you really look at what they got, they had a lot of players that are really high ranked players when they were drafted that never really showed up and were never given really big chances. Were given chances in Vegas, and now look how they're producing. It's the same situation with other expansion teams, and that's why I would rather see Arizona move. But I don't think that'll happen just yet, and because of that, I still feel that this rinse and repeat cycle of trading for prospects, those prospects not turning out or not reaching the full potential, trading those prospects, getting a return of more prospects, and so on and so forth. As you can see where I'm going with this, it's a rinse and repeat cycle. It'll never stop. That is why I think that this trade will actually happen, because it just makes sense off of the characteristics of the Arizona GM and what he's done in the past. This is not a good move in my opinion. I don't care what you bring in for Max Domi. The kid had an off year. He is a great top 6 winger. You want a guy like this on your team. He is not afraid to fight. We know that because of his old man. He can score. He can play in the corners. He hits. He does everything you want a forward to do in nowadays game. And the key other thing that people forget about, Max Domi is very, very, very quick, and he always has been. A stupid thing for them to do. Arizona did the exact same thing with Anthony Duclair this year, trading him to Chicago. Stupid move. Anthony Duclair is a good player who needs time to develop, and they gave up on him before whatever they got in return, which, if you in hindsight, when you look at it, was stupid because Anthony Duclair could be a really solid top 6 player, or even a third line offensive guy who can be good puck possession, who can get you like maybe 10, 12, 13 goals, and that's what you need from bottom 6 guys. Guys that can produce 10 goals plus, who can hit, skate, and have puck possession. And you don't give up on that talent that easily when you already have it and you've drafted it and you hadn't had to sign it and you just picked it up. You just scooped it up from the juniors, you put it in the NHL when it was ready, and there you go. Now, so what? He had a massive recession since his rookie season. That doesn't matter compared to what he can do in the future. The same situation applies to almost all players on the Phoenix Coyotes. Trading a guy like Max Domi to Pittsburgh is a stupid decision. What are you going to get from Pittsburgh that's better than Max Domi could be in 3 years from now when he's at his prime or just reaching his prime? You can't find anything that'll be better on that team than what you already have if you just be patient and wait. You're not going to get better if you just keep trading, changing the system all the time, and constantly adding free agents that don't pan out because your team is shit and your coaching is horrible, and then you end up trading it. These trade rumors, I usually love trade rumors, guys. I love the NHL trade rumors. I love talking about it, diving into it. But stuff with Arizona just infuriates me. This team could be so good, but they're just so poorly managed, and their managerial decisions to trade players like Max Domi, or even consider trading Max Domi because of an offseason for what, a first-round pick and a prospect? Oh, wow, whoop-de-doo. You get a first-round pick, probably late because it's Pittsburgh, and a prospect who's probably not going to turn out to be as good as Max Domi because he had an off year and you want to change it up again. That's not a smart decision. If they trade Max Domi, they're just digging themselves into a deeper hole and ended up probably getting relocated. That is the truth. If you're an Arizona fan and you actually want him to get traded, let me ask you this simple question. Why? Why on earth would you want to trade a guy who had a bad season for a first-round pick that you can never guarantee that first-round pick will become anything, and a prospect who could maybe spice up your bottom six for a bit, or maybe put 10, 12, 13 goals in a rookie campaign? Is that really what you want? Oh, you get Connor Sheary as a roster player. Whoop-de-doo. Is that really the same level of talent you're going to be getting for a guy like Max Domi? Pittsburgh's made up of overrated young players that play with Crosby and other elite talent, so their numbers are inflated. I hate to say it, but it's true. I'm not saying those players are bad, but, Connor Sheary and all these other guys, they're not that good. They're not these hyped up players that Pittsburgh fans hype them up because they're playing on a line with Crosby. It's like when you put anybody with McDavid. Patrick Maroon. That's a prime example. What happened when you put Patrick Maroon off of Anaheim onto a line with McDavid? Look at the guy. He ripped it up, learned things, and now he's going to probably go on and get a good contract somewhere, be a solid top six player for a team that can put you up to 15, 20 goals because he learned from McDavid where to be. Now, I'm not saying he's going to sign with a team that has McDavid level talent, but you still learn from that, and that's what these guys are doing. Pittsburgh is just putting all these young AHL players with Crosby, hoping they pan out. If they don't, they send them down and put them in the fourth line. It saves so much cap. They don't have to go out and sign all these top six guys when you can put mediocre top six AHL players with these guys. Like, who the fuck had even heard of some of these Pittsburgh players? And that's what you want to trade Max Domi for? Unbelievable. Their GM cannot do this. If he makes this trade for Max Domi to any team, for example, the only way this trade would be beneficial for Arizona in any way would be if they got a player that was already at the same level as Max Domi and was young enough to improve on his past seasons. Only way you can make this trade work. You can't just give him up for a first and a prospect or a mediocre roster player at best. You can't. You cannot take a gamble when you have a guy like Max Domi that you're just going to give up on. Now, I'm not an Arizona fan. They're my favorite jerseys. I love those old jerseys in the bottom left corner, as you guys can see right there. That is my favorite logo ever. I know it's kind of a weird logo, but it's just so different and unique. I like it. So that's the only reason I even like this team one bit. But as someone who likes hockey and watched Max Domi, in the juniors and on Team Canada in the juniors, and now he's in the NHL, I watch his highlights because he's a Canadian guy. They have it on sports and all this stuff all the time, and I like watching just highlights in general. He's always on highlight reels. You cannot give up on him. You can't. I know the GM will never watch this video, but as Arizona fans, get behind your player and try your best as a fan base to keep this guy here. I know that's rough and that is hard to do, but you don't want to give up on him. You can't give up on him. You don't want to trade Max Domi, especially to the Pittsburgh Penguins, the Vancouver Canucks, which are a conference rival who are just getting better with younger prospects. As much as I hate to say that, the Canucks are going to be a good team. You can't give him a guy like this. For what? What are you gonna take from the Canucks? Like, they're gonna give him a Brendan Gaunce, a Jake Virtanen level player, something around there who hasn't panned out yet? You can't make those mistakes, and that is what Arizona will do if they go down this road of trading Max Domi. You can't do it. It is not a smart decision whatsoever. Anyone with a brain that follows hockey even a small bit and knows stats will tell you you cannot trade Max Domi. You just, it's not worth it. Why would you trade a guy you already have? Unless he's demanding way too much money and they don't want to pay him and they don't have the means to pay him, I understand that. I don't agree with it and I hate that, but I understand it. As someone who's a fan of the Winnipeg Jets, I know about not being able to sign people because of the old days. Teemu Selanne and etc. The money sometimes isn't there with poor franchises. Arizona has that case. But if it has nothing to do with that and he wants to stay there, which why would you? But if he does, you have to make an effort to keep the kid. You can't just dangle him around all these teams. Hey, look, we have Max Domi. You want him? Send us your first-round pick. Like, that's not going to work. It won't work. It won't work. If Evander Kane got a conditional first if he signed with San Jose, what do you really think you'll get for Max Domi? I have to say that. It's not gonna pan out for you. As someone who follows hockey and enjoys hockey, don't give up on Max Domi. Arizona fans, keep him. He's a good player. He will be good for you. And all you guys right now need a guy to get behind in your franchise. Yeah, Clayton Keller's a great guy to get behind. But a guy like Max Domi can be here for a while. And he's a great guy. And you want that on your team. So get behind him. Keep him here. Because he's a hell of a player. And you don't want to lose that just yet. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. It's kind of a rant more than a discussion. But it's a necessary video. You can't give up on this player. So don't give up on him, and don't trade him, because trading him is a stupid decision, and it isn't worth the return you're going to get. I could be completely wrong on this. Max Domi could be a complete bust, get waived, never play in the NHL again next season. But as it stands right now, screw it. I think he'll be good, and that's what I stand behind. So don't trade him. Keep him. Ride out the wave of shittiness, because hopefully your prospects are only going to get better. And just stop trading guys that are just having bad seasons for different guys who will have bad seasons for you. It's not a smart decision.